All right, good evening and welcome to Sunday Evening Coffee. Tonight, we're excited to have Donnie and Nichole Bowen here. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
And not you.
Oh, sorry.
I was talking to Crystal, sorry. Now, sitting straight across the table from me is my beautiful wife, Crystal. Say hello, babe.
Hey.
And in the corner at the kiddie table is Jason and Jennifer Zag. Say hey, guys. So we're really excited to have Donnie and Nichole here tonight. Tonight we are drinking decaf again because, well, Crystal's not. She had regular. Mm-hmm. She can handle it. Jennifer and I struggle with drinking the regular. So we have some Pete's decaf that we're sipping on and Crystal's cookies. I still think we need to add cookies to the title because we have them every week.
We do.
Coffee
if anybody'd
culture,
like to purchase any, let me know and I can send you some.
Yeah. Jeff Gregory said, sell them. Everything's for sale for a price, right? So we're going to talk to Donnie and Nichole about their story. They have an interesting story, and when this actually,
you forgot to talk about their coffee they're drinking.
They are.
Coffee.
Yeah. Hold up y'all's coffee and show the YouTube viewers.
We had a special request. It's our
so they got their Dr. Peppers. So for those of you that are just listening, they're drinking Dr. Pepper, not coffee.
Our first special request from a guest.
That's right. They didn't request only green M&Ms or Teddy Grahams with the right arms
only
cut
Dr.
off,
Pepper.
But just Dr. Pepper. So we got them some Dr. Pepper. And by the time this comes out, Donnie and Crystal will be getting ready to head to Africa on a mission trip. Crystal's first. Donnie's, how many mission trips you been on now?
15.
Yeah, so Donnie's an old pro at it. Crystal has been wanting to go for a long time, so she's excited to go. So she's gonna make Donnie her missionary husband while they're there because he knows how to get out of the country. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And Judy knows that because today she come over, or after I meet, she come over. She says, "Where you? How far are you gonna be from us?"
Exactly. Just in case.
Can you get us on? Can you get me on your team? I was like, I don't know. I didn't set the team.
That's funny.
So we'll dive in, and before we do that, I want to tell you guys October 25th, the last Sunday of the month, is when we'll be launching the Marriage Toolbox. So we're really excited about that. It'll be a monthly series on the last Sunday of every month where we talk about the foundations for marriage, and it's kind of what we used in our Marriage 101 life group. And so the first one is going to be what is a biblical marriage and what's the purpose of it. So we'll tackle that, and it's kind of exciting because Jennifer and Jason and Crystal and I aren't talking about it before we record it, so it'll be real because I have some controversial things that I want to throw out there. So,
imagine that.
I know, right? It's good stuff.
And you
and me, yeah, big shock, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And a lot of it is stuff too that we were in a Sunday school class with the Bowens, and a lot of it's stuff that we talked about in there, the personalities and love and respect, and some of those things that the teachers really, I think, helped us realize things that were missing in our marriage and things to work on. So
yeah. For sure. Yeah, so we've known Donnie and Nichole now for 6 years, I think.
Maybe
7.
No idea.
Yeah.
Sophie was little. She was like an infant.
She was little.
Yeah, so they were in our very first Sunday school, our only Sunday school class
that we went to. Yeah.
And we were care group leaders with them, and we vacationed with them, and I'll tell you a funny story on Donnie in a little bit about vacation with them. So, but
all I know is don't leave your kettle corn.
Yeah. Donnie and Trent will eat your kettle corn,
and it will make you mad. That's all I remember.
Good times. All right, so we'll let Donnie and Nichole jump in and just take off. How long you guys been married?
21 years.
They had to look each other. They both knew, so that's a positive. 21 years. They have two boys, Tyler and Bailey. Tyler's 20. And Bailey's 16. And so, we'll let you kind of just tell your story. So talk to us a little bit about how you grew up and why you have such a heart for missions and what you're doing these days.
I grew up poor. I mean, 2-room house, a kitchen, and everybody else slept in one room, outhouse out back, and that was it. And until I was 16, I think it was, we moved. Daddy bought the house next door. It had 3 rooms, and me and my brother built the bathroom.
You weren't saving up the money.
Yeah, we weren't saved up the money, and we built the bathroom on it. So that was the first time, I guess I was 17 then, that we had indoor plumbing.
Wow.
So how did you know how to build a bathroom? Like, did you know how to do the like, was it right or did it just
Was it right?
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's awesome. Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying I wouldn't have a clue how to do that.
I was a workaholic. I mean, I did everything. I mean, I would go, if it was dig a hole or plumb or electrical or whatever, I just did it.
You figured it out. You learned.
If it was to make $1, I was going to make $1.
And that was before YouTube. You couldn't just go YouTube how to do it. You had to
learn
figure out
it.
how to do it.
So I started that. Then I was farming since I was 12 years old. I farmed, and before that, I just mowed yards, raked yards, just whatever it took.
Did you see your dad? Did he work hard? Like, where did you get your work ethic at? Because that's one of the things
My
very early
mom
on.
drilled it in my head. If you're gonna be somebody, you're gonna have to work. My dad was a drunk. He's not now, but he was drunk. We didn't see him much. Mama kept us together, and she read the Bible, and she kept. I mean, there was one time that Dave was like, "Well, let my sister just raise them," and she was like, "No, you can leave, but they're not."
Yeah.
So that's the way it went, and I just had to work for everything. If I wanted clothes, I bought Christmas for the whole family one year. I worked all summer long, but I was determined that we was going to have Christmas and wasn't nobody going to hand it to us this time. Mm-hmm. And
How many brothers and sisters you have?
2 sisters and 1 brother. And I made them make a list, and that's when Sears and Roebuck's was still open. And I
That does
ordered
make
it.
me. I need a tissue already. Go ahead.
This is no joke. I ordered it. I started ordering stuff like in June, and I started with the little one first, Shannon, and everything she put on a list, I bought it.
How old was she?
She was probably 3.
So how old were you?
I was. How many differences is?
I think she's.
I was
11
probably.
or
I wasn't
12
driving
years.
yet because I had to have people take me to go get it.
Yeah.
I wasn't
So
driving.
you're a
yet.
kid still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golly.
So I did that, and then, of course, I met Nicole, and then she was about like us. And then I also remember one day driving down the road, and I told her, I said, I'm going to build you that house right there one day. And it was on.
I did not expect to cry.
And so I was like, I'm going to build you that house one day. And it wasn't the same house, but at the age of 20, I built our first house with my hands. I built.
That's awesome.
I did probably 75% of the work. I did a lot of work to it. The same way with our second house that we built. I spent many nights working on that thing and
It
working.
has a lot of sweat in it from both of us laying those hardwood floors.
Is this the house you are in still?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And
So we've only had 2, and we built both of them ourselves.
So just from that, I just had a good work ethic. I was determined I wasn't going to be on welfare. I wasn't going to be. Nobody was going to hand me nothing. I was going to work, and my kids was never want for nothing. Neither would my wife, and that's just the way it's always been. I mean, so then I farmed for I don't know till I was probably 30 maybe. And Max, I just got burnt out, and I shot bows with Max Baker a lot, and I was working I went to work for a painting company in Nashville, and he called me one day and said, "Hey, you needing a job?" And I was like, "Not really, but
But I like to work.
and the bad thing about it was, and I'll get into that later, but I was a workaholic. I mean, I did not want them to want for nothing. I mean,
7 days a week.
7 days a week, I was up and down
Nights.
for daylight. I ran it for several years until the big boom in 2008. I run my own painting company. I had 4 or 5 guys that worked for me all the time, and I just kept moving along. And then I went to work for Max, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you come to church?" And I was like, "I don't know if I can fit it in my schedule. I'm working all the time."
So had y'all been in church since you've been married?
Yes, she went more than I
Me,
did
I took the boys just about every Sunday,
to a Church
and
of Christ.
he worked.
Church of Christ.
Right.
I did not know
like
that.
2 minutes
know
down the road.
Right down. It was right down the road, and it was for the ranch that I work on. There, it's got the same old because
Same 30
he's
people.
against me going every time. He's terrified because he don't want nothing to happen because then he knows if it's a downfall. But anyway, and it's the same old, just like I told him the other day. We got into it the other day about me and the guy that I'm taking. It's working for us now. He's like, y'all can't be gone never again. I said, no. I said, we can be gone tomorrow if you want us to. I said, but I'm not. This man's wanting to go, and it's his first trip, and he needs to go.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that. Then he was all apologetic or whatever, and
So you have a guy going with you on this trip that
I've
from work.
recruited that works for me. Yeah.
But he goes to church with us.
He
Oh, he
goes to
does.
church.
Okay.
He goes to church with us, and he needs. I mean, everybody's rough around him. He needs some work done on him. But
Awesome.
and then, but getting back to what Max, I went to work for Max and Judy, and Max invited us to church, and
And what were you doing for them?
I was doing industrial maintenance for him, and he actually got rid of 3 guys when I went to work for him because he was like, because I told him, I was like, these guys ain't working. I said, you don't need them. I said, unless you just want to pay them because I can do this without them.
So if you need to cut your expenses, anybody out there, Donnie Bowen is a good hire.
And I did. And I tell everybody, Max and Judy are great. I mean, we had a devotion every morning. You always knew where the company stood.
Prayer every morning.
A prayer every morning.
Good
and
Christian people.
Yeah.
They put family first. My dad, I was in Knoxville. Well, I was on the other side. I was in Bristol, Virginia is where I was at, and I got a call that Daddy had a heart attack and they was fixing to do triple bypass. Well, I called back and tell Judy what was going on, and she was like, just stop what you're doing and drive home. Go see, you just drive home, leave it. We'll either get to it or we won't, just come home. So I did, and they're great people to work for, but he invited us to church. So we come to church, and
This was 11 years ago.
It was 2003.
Okay. Just
So-
to put it in a time
Yeah.
frame.
14
Okay.
years ago.
14 years ago.
Or
And it was,
Sorry.
we'd been going, she'd been going more than me, and Max was on me like, man, you need to be the priest.
He was
of
still
your home.
working.
I was still working all I could work and do all I can do. I was just, if you called me and said, hey man, I need you to dig a hole outside, I said, I'll be there in a minute. I'd go, whatever, and I always told her that and even till today, that she won't never drive nothing that I don't trust. And her first car was a brand new car that I bought her. I mean,
and we weren't married. We were just dating.
but
That's sweet.
and now she worked too. She worked too and helped along to get it, but I worked a lot too. At that time, it was my neck on the line. But we made it through all that, and I saw it was on a mission Sunday, and I'd been working a lot, and I was just sitting there, and we sat with Max and Judy, and I just looked over at him. It showed a picture of Africa stuff, and I said,
They were doing a video that weekend.
yeah, and I
I
said,
think-
About an upcoming trip or something, or
I think they had just been on one and they were showing like highlights of it that
Right.
week. But they did have one that was about to come up. We didn't know about it yet, but
Yeah.
it was about to come
and
up.
I told Max, I just looked over at him. I said, we need to do that. And he kind of chuckled and said, yeah, we need to do that. Well, the following week, Pastor Jeff calls him and said, hey, I need to meet with you. Well, that time I was on the road doing my maintenance stuff for Max, and he called me. He said, hey, I got a meeting with Pastor Jeff, and I got a good idea what it's going to be about. And I was like, what? He said, I think it's going to be about what you was talking about. And I said, he said, what do you think? I said, I'm in. I don't care. I'm in. So that started my missions deal. And Pastor Jeff told him, said, I knew y'all was the two that was supposed to go. We had like 30 days to get our money up, passports, shots, and everything. We had $400, if I remember right, and each other's account over to help pay for the guys that didn't raise their money yet.
In 30 days.
In 30 days. So I was like, Judy did a lot. She did all of her past work stuff. She expedited them. She took care of it. All the paperwork she did for us. And
How long had you been going to the church at this point?
We started in August, and his first trip was in March 2004.
So it was pretty quick after.
Quick. Yeah, it's pretty quick.
And when we started there, we started in Sunday school. They invited us to Sunday school.
So you,
it wasn't
off
just
the bat,
church,
you
yes.
were.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening, Pastor Jeff is Jeff Gregory, Jeff and Lisa, who we did
That
a
were on
podcast
2 weeks
with,
ago, yeah.
who was
Or
the
last
missions
week.
pastor for years and years at church.
He's Pastor Davis is over me, but he's my go-to guy.
Yeah.
And him and Max both are. If I got something, because I can get a hold of them, Pastor Davis is so hard to get a hold of.
In case you're watching
But
this.
he has called me, and we have talked on some issues.
I was
that
going to say
didn't-
good, bad, and other.
That was on some issues that we didn't agree about. That was some stuff that went on that wasn't supposed to go on. But I wasn't in the wrong. So,
Okay.
But anyway,
Okay.
I'm black and
Okay,
white.
back to your money.
Back to my money. But anyway, my money come in. I had never been on an airplane. I've never been on an airplane.
And you're flying to
I
Africa.
was flying to Africa.
Wow.
Holy moly.
That's a
a
real
big, that's a
awakening.
big,
So
jump
I-
off the bridge here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was sitting there praying all the time. I was like, Lord, just, take care of me, take care of the family at home. And I'm a big deal. When I leave her a ton of money.
We're not rich.
We're not rich, but I leave her enough money. If something comes up, she can take care of it, and she knows where everything's at. But anyway, I got on the plane. I was like, I was sweating. I was like, man, this plane. He goes take off, and then this guy beside me, Walker Bloodworth, was in the aisle, and I was in the middle. Then there was another guy at the window. He was like, where are you going? I told him what I was doing, and it was another pastor. There was another pastor on the plane,
that's cool.
and he was like, he started praying. He's like, I'm gonna pray for y'all to have a safe trip. Da 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 da. And I was like,
That's awesome.
How
I
good is
didn't
that?
know that.
I was like, how good is that? This guy, he's a.
We ain't going to crash. There's a preacher beside me. It's good.
Yeah, I'm good.
So were you saved at an early age? Like where did your salvation happen at this point, or had it happened yet?
He got saved. He was going to like a Bible study on Tuesday nights with the guy that he works with at the Church of Christ.
Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And he come home one night from one of those, and he's like, "Sorry, I know
No,
you asked him,
no.
But he come home and he's like, "Nicole, I need to go back." And it was Brother Marvin Crouch was the pastor, and
I called
he
him.
had told him, "If you need anything, call me." And he called him, and they went back up there, and he was saved and baptized that night.
That's
on
awesome.
Tuesday night.
That's all. So
So-
you were saved already, and this was
Yeah.
your
But
first
he was
trip.
like, he was in his 20s
Yeah.
at that point.
So we went on our first trip, and we did we built 4 churches in 4 days, and drove about
Holy moly.
I think Jeff says about 800 miles round trip through some of the roughest, rockiest
This
ground.
was a Pathfinder's trip.
This was
too.
all
This was all
guys, and it was
Yeah.
like you see on TV in rock climbing deals. That's what we did to get to where we was going. And it was a bad deal, and we made it and didn't have no incidences. Everything went smooth. Come back, and that's why I got a passion to go. I don't ever say if I was ever asked, like every trip they've ever asked me, I'm in. I'll go. I don't care where it's at. Wherever you need me to go, I'll go. And a lot of it goes back to my childhood is where we grew up so poor. I relate to them people. I know what they're going through.
Yeah.
I know what the people that has money over there in whatever country it is looks at them. I didn't even have money for a pencil. My 2nd grade teacher, I still remember her, she took me to the bookstore and got me all of my book supplies in a backpack, first backpack I ever had. And, and then I was talking to my sister about doing this last week. Was it last week? Week before? And she said, I think it's so neat that you're doing that, but did you know that Mama supported
She sponsored a child.
sponsored her child in Africa all these years up until she was
Did
put.
she
She had a
really?
stroke a few years
She
ago.
and I was like,
Yeah.
no, I had no clue. She says I was digging through her stuff, and she never missed a payment. And she
Wow.
said, I think it's so neat that now,
That's a seed she sowed.
now that you're going, and she, even though we didn't have nothing, she made sure to mail off that payment every month, whatever it was. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But she's got the paperwork on it, and said she
That's
mailed
neat.
it off every month until she had her stroke, and then she, of course, she don't do it now. She's in nursing home, but that's why I got such a passion for missions, because I know what they're going through, and the only way out is God. I mean, because it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, because first of all, I never been away from the kids nor her at night, and it really got you alone where you was like, wow, this is. I was a workaholic, and that's all I did was work, because I was afraid of not never having the money if something come up and they needed something, if whatever it was.
It's like that security in
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
That-
If I always had my regular job, but I always had I had something going on all the time. I mean, all the time I was working, doing something. But when I got back, me and Nicole's uncle was kind of partners on a pretty big construction deal. I mean, we was making $25, $30 an hour, and that was big money to us.
Yeah.
I mean,
He made more money on the weekends
weekend I
than he
did
did
at my
during.
regular job.
Yeah.
I could work 2 days and make more money in 2 days than I made at my regular job. And
5 days.
and I come back and I told him, I said, I'm done. He said, what do you mean you done? I said, I'm done. I said, I'm not working no more. 7 days a week, I'm done. And he was like, oh, you've been brainwashed, this, that, and other.
Oh.
You've been brainwashed, man. You can't do this. And because we own, I own half the tools, this, that, and other. I said, you can have them, whatever, I'll buy, whatever, you can have them. So, about like what Pastor Jeff said when he went hiking that time, and he never missed a beat on his money. I never missed the money at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never missed the money at all. We had just everything that we've ever done and wanted to do was there, except I didn't work 7 days a week, 18, 20 hours a day. Because there'd be a lot of times I wouldn't get home till 11, 12 o'clock at night, then get back up 5 o'clock and go again. I mean,
Yeah.
So your first missions trip not only changed you, it changed y'all's marriage
right?
too.
Yeah.
Because we've never been apart for 10 days.
And it was, it's just funny, but I spent $64
This is funny.
on a phone call back home.
Back home.
$64?
$64.
For like, what was it,
And
6 minutes?
It was 6 minutes, and they give you 3 minutes, and then I cut you off at 3 minutes.
Did that kill you to spend $64?
No,
No,
that's what he says.
I tell everybody it's the best $64 for now.
Aw.
And back then, Pastor Jeff, you didn't carry your cell phones. You didn't call home.
No.
You didn't, and I just told him, I said, look, man,
I'm calling my wife.
I'm calling home with your permission or without your permission. I'm asking you because I'm.
But I'm going to do it anyway.
And he was like, if you want to, he said it's gonna be high. I said, I don't care how high it is, because I want to talk back home. I've never been away. But I called and me and her was talking, and then 3 minutes. I told her, I said, go get the boys up. And Bailey was little. He was probably what, 2 maybe.
No, that was in 2004, so he was almost 5.
I said, go get the boys up. I want to talk to them. And click. And Leigh said, you're done. I said,
I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
so
the
I
boys
said-
are standing there at that point. Luckily, the phone rang back.
Well, that was your daddy. He loves you.
I give the lady, they make you pay up front. I give her the more, whatever, the other money. And I said, all right, dial the same number back. So she did, and I talked to them, and then, of course, I come home. But it was the best $64 I ever spent. I mean, it was just to talk back home, and and I've been going ever since.
Isn't that
And,
crazy?
$64 for 6 minutes.
and it was at the Mountain Lodge, so don't call from the Mountain Lodge.
I won't. Don't worry.
Don't call home.
I don't need to hear your voice. It's
So
fine.
so let's jump to Nicole then. So tell us a little bit about your life before him.
There wasn't much before
This is
him.
most of your life, I know.
Yes. I grew up, I was relatively poor. My
Donnie said you was rich. You lived on the other side of the
compared
track.
to him, compared to his life, I was rich, I guess. Anyways, my parents were. How do I say that?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
They didn't always get along.
Right.
There was abuse in my family, and except when I was younger, and it kind of went back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in church, everything was good.
Yeah.
When we weren't, there was drinking, there was, I think, extramarital affairs, and abuse. Because there was no trust. And anyways,
Did that abuse spill over to you or just to your mom?
just my parents. Never, the only thing was, wow. My dad did threaten to kill us one time.
Wow.
And that was rough. But my parents, they ended up getting a divorce right after that. But he and I had just started dating at that point.
And how old were you? You were pretty young, weren't you?
I was 14.
14. Just dating, though. You didn't get married at 14.
No, I did not.
Okay.
We did not get married at 14. Anyway, but they got a divorce right after that. And, of course, mine and Donnie's thing has always been, we're never going to be... Me, you'll know, that's part of my deal, that I was never going to be like my parents. When I got married, it was till the end.
Yeah.
It is to the end. I mean...
Hallelujah.
Most days, right?
Some days I do want to kill him, I will admit, but anyways, that's always just been our big thing, that we're
Very committed.
Yes, it's our marriage, and we're committed to it. And of course, we got married. I was 17. He had just turned 20, and it wasn't far until my birthday that I was going to be 18. We had Tyler, our 20-year-old, and then 4.5 years later, we had Bailey.
Little Bailey.
Yes, my lovely little other man up there.
And there's no denying, I mean, they look just like him.
Except the oldest, everybody says he looks just like Donnie's brother. But I promise nothing.
That's funny.
No, because he was with me my snow. The late nights, he was with me.
That is great. So let's do a fun tidbit. Here's a fun Donnie and Nicole
Uh-oh.
piece of information, or like a trivia. So who do we know that's won the lottery? Who's won money? in the
Oh, I
lottery?
forgot about that.
Who do we know? Donnie and Nicole.
They did win the
Hey,
lottery.
And wait, hang on. How much money did you win?
$100,000.
$100,000. They're kind of a big deal.
We are not a big deal.
No, but I'm like, that's cool. That's a fun fact.
That's a fun fact. But that come at a time where we was at the...
Can I tell that story?
Yeah.
I'm 8 months pregnant with Bailey. We were, oh my gosh, it was literally paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Paycheck to paycheck. I
Right.
mean, I'm 8 months pregnant. I worked where I work now. I mean, because I've been there since 97. And I guess, it was a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Obviously, we weren't at Cornerstone at that point. This was in 99. But he asked me something about money. And he's like, I'm going to go get a lottery ticket. And I said, I only have $4. He said, well, give me your $4. and we live really close to Kentucky. I mean, it's like 10, 15 minutes down the road. He drove down there to that store and got that ticket. And he come back home. Thought nothing about it. Nothing else
Really,
about it.
also, it wasn't like... It was probably the third or fourth ticket I'd ever bought.
Right. I was going to say, you don't seem like a lottery ticket guy at all. Like, that's
So-
not anything I would put on my radar for you.
So the next morning, I'm up getting ready for work, and he's like, hey, he's calling the phone number. And he's like, Nicole, we've got 5 of these numbers. What is that? And I'm like,
I mean,
I'm not getting ready for work.
I was thinking $100.
Yeah.
So he's calling everybody in the county that he knows.
Who might be lottery ticket regulars.
Yeah.
And he had, we lived in that first house that we had built, and I had a nice car, but his truck, he had gotten rid of his. This is another one of, as hard as it is to believe, with this mean man right here, he has a heart of gold, and his family is his life. And when we started to build that house, we had a truck payment. Because he had the truck, and he ended up relinquishing that to his uncle. His uncle took over the payments, and he took the truck that he had because it was paid for. And so this truck wasn't obviously going to make it to Louisville, so he borrowed the truck. His friend that's going with y'all to Africa. Yes, because then it wasn't Tennessee; it was only Kentucky.
Oh.
He had to drive to Louisville to get that ticket cashed in, but he had gone to the market where he bought it, and they said, you need to sign this immediately.
Did they tell you how much it was then?
Yeah, the guy took me in the back room because there was other people standing around. I was thinking,
We don't want you to get hit over the head.
I was thinking $100. I didn't know. He took me back there. And he said this ticket's worth $100,000. I said, what? I said,
I wish I could have seen your face.
and I said, okay. He said,
And I'm at work at this point.
She's
I went
at
to
work, and he says, sign it, and then I'm gonna walk you to your truck. And I was like, well, I'm big enough to walk myself.
Yeah.
But anyway, he walked me out to the truck, and I got in my truck, and I didn't call nobody because I didn't have a cell phone. I went back to work, and Jason was there, and I said, hey, this ticket's worth $100,000. And he said, what? And I was like, yeah. He said, and he had a fairly new truck. He was still living at home with his mom and dad, and he said, take my truck. And I said, okay. I didn't even have gas money, diesel to put in it. It was a diesel truck. I went out to the market there at the house, and I told Tommy Herndon, which was a great old man that owned the market, he let me charge all week, and then I'd pay it when I got paid. I said, I need to fill up with diesel. And he said, well, go, fill up with diesel. I'll write it down. So I filled up with diesel, and he wrote it down, and I went to Louisville and got the money. And
That's great. Isn't that funny?
and he
Did they give you cash or give you a check? Like, how does this work?
they give you a check. But when you go in there, it's like Fort Knox. There are guys with machine guns at the door. I don't know what everybody else is behind this big glass thing. I was like, what have I done?
I'm a winner. Don't shoot me.
Winner.
They want to see the ticket when you walk through the door. They escort you over to the window with their machine guns. You slide your ticket. You slide your ticket under the glass. They go somewhere and confirm it, and then they come out with you a check, and then they want to take a picture
Without the machine guns.
Yeah. And I'm like, geez, I don't want to take a picture, but for $100,000, I'll take it.
But I'll do it.
I was, yeah.
What?
No, I don't have a copy of it.
Oh, no.
I wonder if we could Google it and
It's
find
probably
it.
on their
I
website.
We'll try to find
was,
No, because didn't you? No, he didn't tell him.
and my dad went with me. He was like, hey, let's go over to the bank, get a cashier's check. And I was like, man, this check's good. He's like, we're not leaving Kentucky without a cashier's check. That much. So I said, all right. So I went over to the bank, and we walked in there, and I told them, they said, we ain't got that much money. Said, we can give you a cashier's check. And I said, well, give it to me. I'll just take it back home to my bank, put it in the bank. So I did. That's what I did. But what made me so mad, I was thankful for the $100,000, but the government took a chunk. They took, I got
$32,000. We got $68,000.
Yeah, but then they come back and got $4 more thousand.
A couple years later, they didn't get $4,000. It ended up they
Yeah, we
waived all the
settled out.
stuff.
We settled out, and but
God.
anyway, that's. But I remember calling her because her car was.
So did you go to Louisville and she didn't even know at this point?
No, she didn't know I was going to Louisville.
No, you called me.
I
and told
called
me.
you. Yes, I
So
called
she knew
you.
how much it was and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Okay.
But I
But
had
I
Jason's.
ended up taking a half-day vacation because everybody kept aggravating.
I
Like,
had,
why are you here? So
I had
I'm going home.
Jason's cell phone with me, and I called her, and she was. I was like, that new. I think it was a Durango or something you want, or it was another car. I said, I think we can buy it now. And she was like, no, you need to buy you a truck. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm all right. I can drive old Brownie. I'm good.
Old Brownie.
Truck. Yeah, it was Brownie.
But anyway, we got through that, and I wound up buying a truck, which was stupid. I shouldn't have bought the truck.
Hindsight.
But it was
lessons learned.
literally a
lessons.
brand new truck that I wrote the check for.
And you were pregnant.
8 months pregnant with Bailey. Yeah.
And then it was all. I mean, we just kept on keeping on. I mean, it changed our lives, but it didn't change us like, hey, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Got your truck. That's pretty
I
good.
mean, I just kept on working 7 days a week, and whatever come along, if it was painting or laying floors or brick block, whatever, I did it.
I just think it's fun. So, and not that we're not promoting anybody to play the lottery. We don't think it's a good thing. We're not saying anything. It's just it's in the past. It's under the blood.
It's
Whatever.
Probably 99% of people play it ain't got the money to play it on.
No.
I mean, it's crazy because I see them at the store. They just come out. I'm like, you don't even have money.
They
to
get
buy.
on my nerves. Stand there and scratch their darn. I'm like, get out the way.
Yeah.
Let me pay for my stuff.
But everything from there was just like it was uphill, and I prayed, at that on the way down there. I was like, I don't know what this ticket's worth, but people's acting like it's worth a lot of money.
They act like it's something big.
Yeah, guide me in the way I need to go with it. I mean, I was, because Mama read, we didn't go to church that much, but she read us the Bible every day. I mean, it was, her daddy was a preacher, and she knew the Bible, and she still knows the Bible. She was, even when she was sick, I knew the day we moved her that she wasn't, when they moved her to hospice, that she wasn't going to go nowhere, because she told me, she grabbed my hand and said, just pray, is what she told me when we was putting her on the stretcher to take her to the hospice. And then that night, she told me she wanted something to drink, and I called Doug Sturbin, and he said, get her something to drink, because she hadn't had nothing, get her something to drink. And I went outside and told the hospice nurse to get her something to drink, and that was, 3 or 4 years ago? And her whole left side of her brain was black, was gone, was just black. They said,
They told us that she couldn't swallow.
she wouldn't be able to
anything.
swallow, eat, make your arrangements, it ain't going to be long, so.
Max of 2 weeks.
Yeah, so
And she's still
alive.
it's crazy.
So, but she had enough, she knew the Bible enough to know, even that when we was putting her on a gurney, when she told me that, I was like, because I was like, she ain't be able to speak, this, that, and other, but she knows everybody that walks in, and she can talk, and she's just paralyzed on her right side. Mm-hmm. So
have you been on a mission trip, Nicole?
2.
2.
Where did
I've
you
been
go?
to Nairobi, Kenya, and I've been to Malawi.
Malawi.
Yep, in 06 and 08.
The one thing I didn't know until we were talking about, obviously with Crystal going on this trip, that Cornerstone, I guess is it in Kenya, that there's a church within walking distance of every single person in Kenya.
And we were talking
Kenya,
about that
yeah.
a minute ago, that it's not like a mile walk like we would think, but Donnie was talking a little bit about how they walk to church.
yeah, they walk a couple hours to church. That's why they stay. They stay once
In
they
their
get to church.
clothes and everything.
They'll come full. You'll see them walking down the road. You'll see it when we go. It'll be in a full suit, and it'll be in their best of the best they got. And they'll walk. They've been walking since daylight, just to get to church. And then they stay. They'll stay until time to get home, because they don't want to be out on the road at night, because there's the bandits and all that stuff. That's what they want to be back at their hut.
And
their
tell them what
house.
the pews are like, that they don't complain.
They're inside the church. The first church that the Cornerstone built is the church that he talks about, is Brother Warshel's church. His office is a dirt floor with a desk made out of sawmill wood, and that's it. And then the pews out in the church, the last time I was there, was just made out of sawmill wood, and it was lined up from front to back, and it'll be plumb full.
Full, yeah.
And they'll be sitting in the house. But that's the most holiest place I've ever been in my life. I mean, I've been to India where they stoned Thomas on the mountain. I mean, that place was nice, but it's not like Brother Rochero's church. It's there. He's a man of God, and he knows. You would think he was in the presidential suite.
That's awesome.
And it's just dirt floor, unless they've done something different. I hadn't been there since probably 7-8 years at least. But he's got it. He knows. And he quit his job because he was in marketing on cell towers. And he said he was up on the mountain one day, and God spoke to him to, go. And he said, and I never missed a beat. And he's planted, like Pastor Davis said, he's planted hundreds of churches out of his church. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
So even if you can't go on a missions trip, you can support it, and that's what a lot of people have done through the years for you guys, I'm sure, and for Crystal too. And so, not everybody is called to necessarily be able to go, but you can definitely play a part.
Somebody.
So, looking back, growing up in a 2-room house with no indoor plumbing, did you ever think that God would take you around the world 15 different times?
No.
No. Here's what I think is so neat, listening to you talk about, okay, so you go on what's called the Pathfinders trips.
The rough.
Where you're literally, you're having to figure out how to make it work and build it and get it. And I know it's not optimal conditions.
MREs.
So somebody, though, who grew up having to figure out how to do anything you could do to make money, to see that God was preparing you your whole life for something that you're able to step in and do that I couldn't do, that most people couldn't do.
It's a lot like Pastor Jeff said, that you just make it work, and you know how it's like. It's got to be done, so we got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it takes to do it, we got to do it. So I go with that mindset. Okay, Pastor Davis wants us to get this done or this done. It's going to get done.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just going to do it. If we got to make something, we're going to make it. If we got to go to town and get it, we're going to go to town and get it. Whatever.
Go to town.
Go to town.
Well, and again, that
What's the
determination, that determination of being a 13-year-old kid and buying Christmas, starting in June for your little sister. I mean, I think those are the kind of things and the qualities that make you.
And the skill sets you figured out and learned. I mean, that God would use them later on in this way. I think is really neat.
That's awesome. So we'll ease up off the heavy stuff because I want to do 2 different things. So this is something we haven't done that I think will be fun. What's the biggest thing you've gotten in a fight over in your marriage in 21 years?
Ooh, this will be good.
I don't know. She does most fight. I listen. It's probably.
That's about right. not just necessarily with y'all, but with everybody.
It's probably my clothes. I just take them off, throw them down everywhere. I actually picked them up today, but. But
in the middle or in the corner, in the kitchen floor is where he piles
in the kitchen?
Yes.
Because I come out of the laundry room.
So he walks through the laundry room too.
But I figure if I built it, I can throw my clothes away.
I'd say that's not our biggest argument.
I don't know what, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
Y'all probably don't argue a whole lot.
Time is our biggest argument. Because if you're not at least 30 minutes early, that's on time for him, and I'm not.
They arrived 1 hour early today.
Sure did.
Which is nice.
And I might have been wearing a wife beater.
And farm
It's some
pajamas.
shamrock pajamas.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
I thought they were tractors.
No.
Oh, I didn't look at them very much.
Time is because I've always been that way, but one time Pastor Davis made a statement that we was 1 minute late starting church, and he said I didn't only waste 1 minute of my time, I wasted 3,000 minutes. It's in this building. So and I was like, well, man, I'm already got that part. So I'm good with that. But, and not only I've always been that way, but when Pastor Jeff was over the missions, time is
Critical.
Mm-hmm. And it's when you're in them countries, just like Pastor Joe said, if we've got to move, we've got to move. And there's a reason. Don't ask questions. You move.
Yeah.
You get into the vehicle and we're gone. And it's if if it's not on that piece of paper, just do it. If somebody tells you that you trust, hey, get in a vehicle, we're gone. Get in a vehicle, we're gone. Because there's been times
He told us that. I mean, just
there's-
Saturday.
Yeah, there's been times that we've had to get in a vehicle and get gone. I mean, and but you just do it and go on. But
Funny time.
time is, and over there, you got to know too. Their time, they're not in a hurry about nothing.
I've heard that.
Not in a hurry. I mean,
I've heard Kenyan time. That it's very like.
And and it irritates me, but you just gotta. That's why most of the time
You don't want to irritate Donnie. I'm just saying.
No, don't irritate us.
Most of the time, I'm off. They put me with somebody. They put me off kind of by myself with somebody that's like when we went to Tanzania. It was a bad deal.
Were you grouchy?
Okay.
No,
You're getting a
it's the
signal
truth.
from your wife.
No, it's
I'm
the
not
truth.
sure what it's about.
Our materials wasn't there.
Oh, yeah.
First
Yeah. I remember there was some issues.
We rode around for 2 days looking for materials. Our bus drivers was late 2 days.
Ooh.
And after they was late 2 days, they was late no more. Because the missionary guy wouldn't tell them. So I told them.
This is why.
That's a shock.
Okay.
And Tony Davis was in the back
I
of the
may have been
bus.
around Donnie helping people move a couple of times when it was
Oh,
similar
yeah, I
situations.
know.
I'm just saying.
He was Tony Davis was in the back of the bus laughing. I told him, I said, if Pastor Davis here, you'd be fired and the drivers would be too. I said, and I told him, I said, if you can't tell him, I will. He said, oh, everything works on Tanzania time. I said, everything works on us getting this job done. And I told the drivers, I said, if y'all not here in the morning on time, then we're going to find somebody else. I don't care who it is. We'll find somebody else. They was about 30, 40 minutes early. They was sitting there.
Yeah.
They was waiting on us.
It's amazing how that happened.
But it was all because the guy didn't tell them. He wouldn't stand up to them and tell them. He's like, oh, we're just on Tanzania time. And he lived over there for 10 years, so he was on their time too.
Yeah, he liked their time.
And I tried to get connected with somebody that knows something while I'm there. Like in Kenya, there's a guy that I met on my first trip. He told me when I was getting ready to go, he gave me a phone number of a guy over there, his daughter's husband that's like third in command or something over there. He said, if you get in trouble, call this number. And
At
I'm
the
on.
U.S. Embassy.
And he said, I'm gonna call and tell him that you're coming. He'll know your name and he'll know if he gets a call from you to come get you. And so I was like, okay.
It's about Donnie's smile.
And he was working. He was taught just like the Kenyans and all this. And I was working maintenance on the weekends for a big company that owns a bunch of property, and I was running maintenance. And he was a security guard, let me in. And when he found out I was going, he was just like, "Oh, that's so great! Da da da. Here's who you need to talk to if you get in trouble." And I said, "Okay, well, thank you." That was my first trip too.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, but that, and then when on our Tanzania deal, I met up with a guy that is over the Gideons over there, the whole Gideons, and he also runs a trucking company. And he told me, he said, I could have your stuff sitting here, but they didn't call me. And I said, well, they will call you next time. But it was, we got the work done. That was the main thing, but it was frustrating, but it stretches you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Did you gain a little patience on that trip?
No, I didn't get no patience. We worked.
That's God's still working on the patience as you.
We worked till like 3 a.m. and got back up at 5 or 6 to get it all done. But when we left, it was done.
Yeah.
All 5 buildings was up and done. And they're not. Brother Washero is, because he knows us. He'll be ready.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of missionaries go for sightseeing, and that's, they want to. The guys that's over this missionary want to raise money. I mean, you can talk to Pastor Jeff.
To where
about
our
that.
teams are there to work.
Our teams are
hands
to
and
work.
feet. Yeah.
We're gonna get done what we got to get done. We're not here to go see
For the
this.
photo op.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not here to go see this or that or whatever. And that's that guy was nowhere. He was blown away. He didn't know. like he was going to shut down our project over $5 or $15 worth of boats. And I went ballistic. I was like, and Rob was over like, he just sitting there listening. I'm like, we're not going to do that. I said, how much money do you need to get? I forget, it's either $5 or $15 worth of boats to finish up that project that we done worked all night long on. I said, you go to town now and get the boats and I'll pay for them. And he was like, well, I ain't got no money. And I was like, well, here's the money. Go to town and get my boats.
Get the boats.
Get them back here. I need them now. I need them yesterday.
I didn't fly 20 hours.
Yeah.
Because $5 worth of boats.
So he went and got them. We got it done. But it's just stuff like that.
The culture's very different.
It's very different. They
Yeah.
don't get no hurry at all. And time is nothing to them.
But they are hard workers.
They hard workers. I pulled up one time. Jeff sent me on a job site by myself, and he gave me a diagram what I was supposed to do. And I got there. There was 4 of us and about 20 of them. I laid it out, and I said I want to hold 2 foot by 3 foot. They went to digging. I didn't even get the tools out of the truck. We had stuff to dig with. They went to dig with knives, spoons, hands, rock.
Wow.
Seriously, they're. You'll see. They take their religion to a whole nother level. And when you come to do something like that, give them just a building. It's basically a roof is all it is.
Yeah.
And it's just so much.
And you go to be a blessing, and you end up being blessed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll
changes
get
your life.
more. Just like me, I went over there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get over here and I'm gonna knock this out, and I'm gonna get back home, and then I'm gonna go back to work. And and the whole time I was there, I was thinking, okay, are they doing this at home, or is this getting done? Is this because I had a bunch of stuff at one time? We had a bunch of stuff going. I mean, I was blessed with work. Just people call all the time, doing it. And I was thinking the whole time, but then he just like, you ain't got to work all the time,
That becomes almost like a God in your life.
Yeah.
Like you worship the work.
And then when I got back, I called her uncle, and he was like, you done been brainwashed, something's wrong. I said, you can have all the tools, whatever. And we was making good money a piece. I mean, we was making real good money because we was working for people like Alan Jackson, George Strait.
Oh, Brown likes George Strait.
Are you going to get extra money for throwing out names?
I mean, we was working for their managers all down Music Row. He had contacts. We got in there and got some contacts, and I mean, we had the business. I mean, we had just, they didn't care. They paid us that one job. George Strait's manager paid us $18,000 to rake leaves.
Oh, that was at his house.
That was at his house. We set up over on.
I will rake your leaves.
He wanted it
That's my
20
new
foot.
job.
His driveway went up through the woods and circled his house and come back down. It took us about 2 weeks to do it, and he paid us about $18,000 and furnished everything. He went
To rake leaves?
He went and brought two. He had 2 construction dumpsters after we filled up. He went and brought leaf blowers, chainsaws, rakes, and he gave it all to us. He said, "Take it." He said, "I don't need it. Take it with you."
I think he way overpaid. I'm sure. I'm not positive.
If it filled up 2 dumpsters, I think that's a lot of leaves. I'm just saying.
But,
But this is like in Belmont, so
Yeah.
he has money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
oh
That's
yeah,
funny.
he's got more than he knows what to do with. But
What was the other fun thing we were going to do?
Oh, so before I do that, so I'll say this: we love Donnie and Nichole. They have, when we first met them, I felt like Donnie didn't like me, and I told Crystal, I said,
it bothered you too.
it did. I said, I'm gonna work hard to make Donnie like me.
It was like a project.
Do you like me now, Donnie? But the fruit.
And that's saying something. Cause
That is.
a whole lot of people
That's right. I won him over. It took me a minute, but so what I was going to say was not about the fun thing, but they're definitely leave a legacy. I mean, Bailey's following your footsteps for sure. I don't know what Tyler's doing. I haven't caught up with him lately, but Bailey I know has gone with Pastor Jeff on trips and so
funding his own trip. He funded his own trip last
He's
year.
a hard worker.
Bailey works.
Hard
he
worker.
works, and
It was $1,400.
he raises, or he show calves for 4-H, and so he keeps all of his money and he puts it all in the bank. Every now and then there are things that he buys. I think his first big purchase was a a Benelli shotgun, a rifle, or whatever. But anyway, he wanted to go with Pastor Jeff to Haiti this summer, and he had talked to Pastor Jeff about it. And on the second Saturday in June, we were there, and he wasn't there with us that day. But I talked to Pastor Jeff, and he's like, I got a trip coming up. Let me see if I can get tickets. And we said, well, he's got the money in his bank account, and he paid for it and went. And that to me was huge, that he's 16 years old and he got to go on a missions trip. I mean, a men's missions trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he went on the church, the youth missions trip too, but this was completely separate.
Yes.
His own thing he was doing, which is very cool.
He went with, there was another youth from church, and then Alex Armstrong and Pastor Jeff. And they actually met up with Jackie and Sheila Harper's church that was there.
Doing a trip.
To help on that same trip. Yeah.
So it was really, that all in itself was really cool, because when we first started attending Cornerstone in Sunday school, we were in Jackie and Sheila's Sunday school class.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a small world.
Yes. So, it's awesome to me, the full circle that it's made back around to our son. And but it's really cool to me that 3 of us have gotten to go on a mission trip with Pastor Jeff too. And Tyler never did. He didn't even do any of the youth missions trips that Tyler went on, but Tyler has been on trips, but just with the youth. He's
So, and I'll tell you, just from being around them, they have a great marriage. They're fun to be around.
They're so pretty lovey-dovey.
Yeah, they are.
Like a little
back in Sunday school, we called sex making muffins. And they like to make muffins, so this is an adult show. We can say sex. It's fine. So the other funny thing I was going to talk about. So after I got Donnie to like me a little bit, we were in Pigeon Forge, and we would take in a care group leader trip and stayed in the cabin with, I guess there was 8 of us, maybe 6, 8 of us.
8 or 10, I don't remember.
So anyway,
there was only 4 couples that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So Donnie's not a shopper, and he wasn't a shopper, and he didn't like clothes, didn't want nothing to do with it.
And he's real stern and serious.
Yeah.
He didn't want to,
Yeah. You can't take it personally, but so
it's just,
so we went over to the stores, and I told him, I said, we're going to get you an outfit because we're going on a date that night. We had a big old date set up in Gatlinburg.
Yes.
And he's like, I ain't buying no clothes. I said, I'll buy you clothes then. I said, you're going to get some clothes tonight, and we're going to fix you up. And so he's like, no, we ain't. So we walked into the first store, and we looked at a couple shirts, and I seen a little light bulb go off. And he's like, well, that looks pretty good. And I said, yeah, it does. So before we got done, Donnie bought him a shirt and a pair of pants and a pair of shoes.
And he looked good, too.
And then, now this is the fun part. So we come back, we get back to church, and we got back on Saturday. Well, on Sunday, he done went to Buckle and bought some more clothes and had some other clothes. I said, no, wait a minute.
You're turning him into a monster.
I think he's wearing a Buckle shirt right now.
Yes, he is.
So anyway, but so that's our Donnie story.
That was a fun weekend.
It was. So yeah, we love you guys, and thank you for coming and being with us on Sunday evening coffee. Yeah, what you got for us? Let's hear it.
You can do it.
What is it?
The scripture, our favorite scripture that goes right along with this is Matthew 28:19. And it tells you to go into all the world and preach the gospel.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that's what we do.
Yeah.
I tried to.
Awesome.
I do have a quick little, just when I went to, it was my first missions trip to Nairobi in May of 2006. I was actually gone on Mother's Day, which was a little rough for me, but that Sunday we went to church, and I believe, I don't know, anyways, we got there early, and the kids were in there in what was their existing church, and they already had their little music going. The kids by themselves, which is, to me, was huge, because that is not something our kids would do. They'd be in there jumping around and acting crazy.
Playing
dodgeball.
But
they were already doing their worship and doing all their stuff, and there was no adult supervision in there. That's probably one of the things that has stuck out the most to me.
But
They have a hunger for it.
Yes.
that's how they're raised. I mean, you'll see when we go, you'll see a kid that's probably 3 or 4 years old, 4 or 5 miles before you'll see the kid before you'll see anything else. He'll just be out wandering.
Wow.
And the reason being is the driver that I had told me, the only driver I ever had, because all the other times he made me drive, but he told me everybody looks after everybody's kids, and if you get caught hurting a kid, molesting a kid, smacking, doing something wrong to a kid, they burn you in tires on the spot. No,
oh, wow.
No court date, no nothing. They burn you right there. So
wow.
That's
not all bad.
And he couldn't believe that our kids couldn't run like that. He was just blown away, and I was like, no.
But you have to be worried about their safety here.
Yeah,
That's
he was
amazing
like,
that you live in America and that's
you're
like that.
one of the greatest countries in the world, and you have to worry about your kids. We don't have to worry about our kids. Our biggest worry is water and food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was an eye opener. I was like,
It's interesting we have the water and the food for the most part, but we're missing the other.
Yeah,
Missing most of the rest of everything else.
Yeah, definitely.
He was a good driver.
Well, I'm excited about the trip. It's going to be good.
It is
It'll
going
be
to be
good.
awesome.
It'll be a good trip.
Awesome.
So we'll do an update after they go and get some more information on how it was and the things that went on. So thank you guys again for being here. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your hearts. That's awesome. As always, let us know what you think. Thank you for listening and watching regularly. Send us an email at sundayeveningcoffee@gmail.com and go to the website and Facebook, sundayeveningcoffee.com, facebook.com/sundayeveningcoffee.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't know any of that.
Yeah. I don't think Crystal's ever
I'm like,
been
I
on the
don't even know how to
website.
find it.
I don't think she's
I
ever.
have. No,
Oh,
I
you
have.
have? Mm. She's yeah. Anyway,
She's with me.
yeah,
My wife does mine too.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know how to do it. I don't understand.
yeah.
And I'm not as technologically savvy as you, so.
I'm not savvy. I will tell you this real quick before we leave because I didn't do it last week and I meant to when I was recording. But so God has been really faithful through this because between the website and the podcast stuff, I mean, we're spending a little chunk of money every month for all the stuff that we're doing, and the equipment stuff's not cheap, but. Ben, Crystal's ex-husband's letting us use a soundboard, and
That's a whole nother podcast.
that is,
Yeah.
and Pastor Elmer gave us some of the other stuff that we have, and some other stuff. I mean, just at the perfect timing, like some software that I needed that I had a free trial to that was expiring, and I'd been praying fervently for like 2 weeks before, and I was like, God, you know what? It's $300. And this is your deal, so you need to give me that $300 because I don't want to spend it. And
It ain't our $300. It's yours to
that's
go
right.
with.
and literally like the next day, somebody had a license and they gave it to us, and but they didn't need. So it's just God just gives you little pieces, and just right in the right time. So be encouraged, and as Donnie Nichole said, follow the Great Commission, go out all the world. Spread the news.
And it's not really an option.
Time's short.
So if you can't go on a trip, or if you maybe aren't at a place to go at this point in life, support somebody who is. Support missions through your church. Put your seed out there where you're doing what it is that we're called to do, because everybody can do something.
And
one
pray
other
for the
thing is,
team that's going.
You don't
Yeah, for
have
sure.
to go out of the United States to do missions. There's missions to be done right here.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's tons of stuff. I mean, I was one of them. It's somebody, like that lady, teacher that bought my stuff.
Yeah.
That's a
And
that's a
I
great
still,
example.
I actually painted her house after when I got big. But
Big like grown, or like big like.
no, I was probably 16. But yeah,
Oh.
I painted her house that she built in Burn Plains, and I thanked her then. I thanked her, for what she did. And
Well, and the impact that had, those
Yeah.
things, they make a difference. They make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah, because I never got to go to the bookstore. I didn't even know where it was at. As I say,
That's where all those bratty kids go and buy the Laffy Taffy and the erasers they don't need.
Yeah, I was like, everybody come back with something from the bookstore.
People like Nicole on the good side of town.
Yeah.
The rich, yeah.
But her grandmother and grandfather was really a big impact, I think, on her, because they was real, true people. I mean, her grandmother, up until I was actually, it was the first trip to Tanzania. And I knew something when I talked to her. I know what's wrong. I was like, "What's wrong?" Something's wrong when I talked to her. She didn't want to tell
I can't
me.
hide it. That's the one thing about being married for so long.
She had a stroke and she passed away, and I was like, "Well, go on and do what you need to do," because I learned that from Pastor Jeff when somebody in his family done that. That he's like, "Go on and do it and get it done," and she said, "We can't because." He
was a pallbearer.
I was supposed to be a pallbearer, and so they waited till I got back, and then so I actually went from the airport to the funeral home.
Oh wow!
And
that
then,
was for visitation, though. The funeral.
Yeah,
was
then the next day we did the funeral, but her grandmother was really.
That's the thing. My parents, both my
I don't
parents
know
have been
how
married.
her parents turned out the way they did.
Both of my parents have been divorced and married a couple of times, and I think my dad's on his fourth marriage. My mom was married twice; she hasn't gotten remarried. But my dad's parents were married for almost 59 years when my grandfather passed away.
And was just faithful people. I mean, I don't know how both of their kids turned out the way they did. I just with the guidance that they give them and the funding they give them. If they needed anything, they worked. Her grandmother bought them chairs, which her family, her
for Hinkle Chair Company is what he's talking about.
Yes.
Like the rocking chairs,
like a Cracker Barrel and stuff.
Yeah.
Her picture was actually on one of the at one time, like the 200th
Her
anniversary.
some of her kin people owned that. Or still own it, and I just don't see how she had two lousy boys. It wouldn't work.
What do you really think?
I know.
And it's, you can edit it out.
He's just trying to end this thing for a few minutes.
But like, we bought a house for her daddy to come back here and live. He has done nothing but cost me money.
Yeah.
But it's just something that's saying you can't throw him away. So I just,
Keep one.
If you watch him, Pops, you better get it together. I'm just saying.
But now I wished he was back here. He went back to Ohio and he's dealing with some cancer issues, this, that, and other.
Yeah.
I wished he was here where we could take care of him.
Yeah.
But he's there on one because his new wife, all of her people's up there. And that's the only reason why he's there. Because when she was up there for 6 months and he was down here for 6 months, I got him a job with another farmer driving a truck on his own time, on his own hours. If he wanted to work, he could work. If he didn't have to.
Yeah.
He made a bunch of money, I know, and didn't return no money. Mm-mm. But that's, it's...
If you're not watching this, you should see Nicole's face right now.
and my dad's got his fault too. He's weak backboned, and he always says.
Again, he's gonna tell you what he thinks.
And he always tells me, "Boy, you're just like your mama," because she will tell. Nicole. We go out there to see her. She gets ready for a leave. She'll tell you, leave.
Yeah, it's over. Go home.
Yeah. If she's watching TV or something, she'll say bye. Don't interrupt my TV show. But anyway, that's it.
That's awesome.
That's it. He's done as he pushes the microphone away.
It's a wrap.
That's Donnie. We'd be somewhere, and at 7 o'clock he'd be like, "I'm leaving."
Oh Lord.
Time to go to bed.
Like earlier than you, like for real. Like when it started, if it was almost time for the sun to go down, they would drive separate, and he would leave.
Yeah.
To go home and go to bed. Just done. And it didn't matter. You could be having the best time. It didn't matter. It was done.
He's like, okay.
He wasn't mad. He wasn't hateful. He was leaving.
It's done.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I'm always like, you're just mean.
But when you.
Okay. I'm trying to wrap this up.
I didn't wrap it up.
We can cut it off wherever. We'll go back in and cut it. That's awesome.
Just, when you work, and do what I do, you gotta sleep.
You got to get your rest. That's right.
I mean, you can't run
That's
on
funny.
2 hours sleep and do what I do.
Well, thank you guys again, and hope you guys have a great evening. And we'll see you next time on Sunday Evening Coffee. Have a good night.
Good night.